Welcome to Old Stuff Show. This is the second part 2 in flea market show and tell. I mentioned to you earlier that once in a while, rather than doing a theme program, I will just pick out some things from my storage locker that are interesting and give you a little bit of background and think about their value and where you can get them. It's fun to be eclectic, and if you're decorating a room or an older home or whatever, it's sometimes nice to have something that's very unique and very different. I found over the last few years that people are focused more now on something that's different, and they are prepared to buy it and display it. One of those things I have behind me, it's the Boomerang Lamp. This lamp is right out of the 50s. That one is a table model, and they also come in floor models. But the Boomerang Lamp is quite spectacular. It's I haven't really had one before. It's very interesting in its shape, and it also comes in floor models. So this one, for example, if you can see it. So it was just something that was unique and different. Today, somewhat hard to get. The value of this one is around $200 and up. And like I say, they're quite scarce. I have not seen them for quite a while. Yeah, so that's one thing. Just moving on to something else that's a little bit different. This is a Victorian doll, very, very old, encased in a glass case. I've seen Victorian things in glass cases, like ornate flower arrangements and even human hair. But this particular doll is very old. You can see the head is got a lot of age to it. So yeah, it's in the unique category too. Value would be around $45, but there again, it's not easy to find this kind of thing. It's just something different that you might want to look for. This is another item that I thought was kind of interesting to show you today. This is a framed picture of that says, "What is home without mother?" And what's good about this one is that the frame with the ornate leaves on the corners are all together, and that's the part that sometimes gets broken off, but this one's in pretty good shape. They come in all types of different sayings and decoration. It can be a nice addition to a wall with a vintage theme. This would run, probably around $50, depending on the shape, and especially the one that has the mother seems to be very popular. I also wanted to mention to you that in my program, the Elvis Special, I had mentioned that one item I found for a lady was the Elvis bust, and I didn't have a picture available at the time, but I thought I would show you this today, just to give you an idea of what I was talking about. So that's a hard item to find. It's not readily available, but for the serious Elvis collector, that's a real find. And a real find is in a personal way. I also mentioned in another program the glass negatives, and I was at a garage sale one day, and I was going through a box of glass negatives here in my city, and I came upon this one, and this was my house that I was living in at the time, but it was built, it's the glass negative of when it was built in 1927. I didn't recognize anything around it, but I certainly recognized the home. So sometimes you just stumble upon things, and you know, you discover something personal. So this should be added, of course, to my family artifact list that I was telling you about in that program. So that was great. And I haven't had it developed, but they can be developed. I think I mentioned that to you before. Items that are Masonic are actually very collectible. Picked this up from, this belongs actually to a friend, and we were trying to understand what it's all about. Now, this might be hard for you to see, but do the best I can. It's silver, and on the back it's plain, but I can describe it for you. It says on the front of it, DASC, that's the big letters, DASC, and then underneath AFT at the date 1891. And then on both sides there's like an animal, which is the same on both sides. So we're not sure about this entirely. Maybe some of you out there would recognize the lettering, but we kind of think it might be related to a lodge, possibly a Masonic lodge. But I'd be quite happy to hear from somebody if they had any information about it, because we're kind of stumped here. But as I said, the Masonic items are quite sought after by Masonic members themselves often, and I've sold them in all kinds of formats related to the lodge, pins and documents and that type of thing. Another kind of interesting collectible, today it's still quite collectible, are the Red Rose tea figures. So Red Rose tea figures started to be put in packages in the 1967. So here's just two examples. They were animals and nursery rhymes. And so here's a nursery rhyme, Dr. Foster, and the old woman who lived in the shoe. But I've got a number of these in this box, and they're fairly easy to find in flea markets, but there was a catalog that I looked at a few years ago, and some of them ranged, you know, from $2, $3, $4 up to $10 or $15. What I do with that box, I just sell them at $3 each, no matter how much value they have in any catalog. There's only two that I stick to as far as the value in terms of their catalog price, and the one is the Gingerbread Man. And Gingerbread Man's hard to get because the Gingerbread Man was very thin and broke very easily, so it's scarce. It runs today a little less than it used to. I have seen it sell for $30, but not so much anymore, maybe half of that. And then there's the, this is a very hard one to find. It's a closed ear rabbit. This one's not tightly closed. The most sought after would be with the ears like bunched right together, and that would sell for around $25. So I've only seen 3 of these over my years of collecting. So yeah, you have to know a little bit about what you're looking for. So you might go to a garage sale and see a box of these, look for a Gingerbread Man and look for a closed ear rabbit, and then you've got the best of the bunch if you can do that. It's something to remember. Young people, young girls like to see a purse like that. This is out of the 50s, and I sell these to younger folks. Not expensive, between $5 and $8, but it's just unique. It's got a butterfly and flowers, and so that's kind of a fun item to include in my my booth at my flea market. Collecting Viewmaster reels is fairly popular. This was put out in the 1950s, so this is I have the original box with the lid, and the viewer looked like this, and the reels were in packages like this. So there are hundreds, literally hundreds and hundreds of these put out in many, many different topic areas. This one is Niagara Falls. So there are all kinds of touristy type things, Grand Canyon and you name it, Florida. Also though, there were nursery rhymes and children's stories. This one's Cinderella, and I have a Space Cadet one in here somewhere too. But the way you, here's the Space Cadet, it's already in there. Tom Corbett Space Cadet. So what you did, you just put the viewer, the slide into the viewer, and then you could on the side press the lever and it would advance the picture. If you've never seen them, they're kind of neat and very, very colorful. And young kids really liked that in the 50s. Today that viewer would run around $15. These individual reels anywhere from $2 and up. Depends on the topic. For example, the cowboy ones, Gene Autry and Roy Rogers and what have you on these, they're a lot more money than say Niagara Falls. Maybe they would be $7 or $8 each compared to $2 or $3 each. But there are people trying to find ones they don't have, and I've seen at garage shows, not so much garage shows, but at shows and flea markets, boxes of these things that people will go through one at a time, and they'll have their list to check it off to make sure that they're not buying it again. And that's another thing, keeping a list, like if you have Red Rose Tea figures or Viewmasters, if you have a list of what you have and what you're looking for, then you just tick it off, and it's easier for you to look at if you're at a flea market than taking a guess. This is an interesting item here. This is a jewelry box, and there are people out there looking for jewelry boxes. Not so much maybe this size, but this size is interesting. This one has a lot of compartments. It opens up. It's got drawers in it. It's got a mirror. It's got a place to hang things. It's got a mirror on the other side, or drawers on the other side. It's got drawers on the bottom. Big drawer actually, and so good shape. I know a few people that are collecting jewelry boxes, but some people would just buy that to use it themselves. So you can buy it for practical purposes, and you've got something old and unique, and it does the job. So those are a few things that I've come up with. It's always the hunt. I think trying to find something that is different is exciting, or trying to add to your collection. If you have your list, that's exciting when you make the find. And in this case, these represent a couple of different generations, different eras, the Victorian era. People are looking for photographs, pictures, toys, dolls, you name it. But furniture, Victorian furniture seems to be a thing of the past. It's too big and clumsy, and people just basically don't seem to be interested in it today. In the 50s, that's a generational thing. People are looking for their Barbie dolls, or they're looking for their cowboy items, so it's a time period that has an awful lot of stuff that people are collecting. And if you go up to the 80s, you know, the young folks are looking more for the thing of their childhood, whether it be Star Wars or types of new technical things that were coming on the market. So everybody has a niche, and often it's just connected with your age or your interests. It's fun to collect, and if you haven't ever thought of doing it, take any of the the items, the categories that I've been showing you and start, it can be great. Get you out into markets and you meet lots of people and you learn lots. It's like going back to school, I always say. So that's about it for today. I hope you learned something and enjoyed it. Again, some of this will be on eBay. The smaller items will be on eBay. I don't ship large items like the lamps and so on. But Lonrem, LONREM, is my eBay ID. And if there's something that you see that I don't get on eBay, then again, give me a shout on my comment page and I'll put it on for you right away. Please subscribe. That helps me grow the show. Like and subscribe. I appreciate that very much, and we're making some strides, as I have said. So if you can tell your friends about this, that helps too, and enjoy the learning process with me. I'll try and keep you entertained. Every Friday we have a new program. So that's it for today, and happy hunting.